What up, guys, and welcome to the Flopbuster Movie Show YouTube channel. Today I am breaking down my ranking of all theatrically released Batman films. Yes, all theatrically released Batman films, with the exception of Justice League. I know Batman's in it, he plays a big part in it, but I'm going to leave that out of it. Anything that's Batman-centric, I did include Batman v Superman, because I feel like in the comments a lot of people would have said, where's Batman v Superman? So it is in here. I have a lot of takes on Batman. I love Batman. Batman's probably my favorite superhero of all time, my favorite literary character, comic book character. I have Batman everything, Batman pajamas, Batman thongs, I wear those. I have a lot of Batman stuff. I loved everything with Batman ever since I was a kid, ever since I could read a comic book. The Long Halloween, I mean, anything Scott Snyder does, Grant Morrison, I really love this character, so it means something near and dear to my heart. I grew up with it. Without further ado, let's break down this list. At number 12, we have Batman and Robin, starring George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell as Robin. I don't need to gang up on this one. I mean, you all know if you like it or not. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I understand. It is a really bad film. It aims to do a lot. There's a lot of over-the-top, cheesy comic book things that aim to capture that 60s tone that they did so well in that show and that movie. And here it kind of falls flat to sell toys. It did work in Batman Forever. Joel Schumacher directed that film. He's a fantastic director, period. But this is a movie that just doesn't work, and it should work. Because George Clooney was at the height of his fame, he was really becoming that movie star that we love, like in Out of Sight or the Ocean's films. But here's Batman. I feel like he just doesn't get the character. At least this version of the character and this script that he was given was, your action hero, superhero guy, just generic superhero guy, you are a cartoon. And that's what he did. We have Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Who can forget Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze? There's things in here that work. It's very colorful. It's very much in your face. It looks good, but also kind of ugly at the same time. It's not a good movie, but it's good for background noise. At number 11, we have Batman Forever. Now, I don't hate Batman Forever. I think this is a fun movie. It is a drastic shift of tone from the prior films, the Tim Burton movies. But Joel Schumacher was told to come in and make a light-hearted family film with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones and everybody else, Val Kilmer. And this works. I think it does work for what it's going for. It feels like a live-action cartoon, but it's also funny because Jim Carrey has that charisma, that 90s charisma that he carried so well in Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura. I mean, the guy's great as the Riddler, and this version of the Riddler, that is. And I think Val Kilmer is a very serviceable Batman and Bruce Wayne. I would love to see that director's cut that's been promised. This is a fun one. Thumbs up for me. I don't think it's as bad as that 44 or 42% in Rotten Tomatoes, but if you're a Batman fan, there's a ton of like here. Alright, at number 10, this is the controversial one. This is the one that I know people love this version of the character, and that's okay. I'm not going to hate on it or hate on you. There's aspects that I love about it, but this is a movie that, for the most part, I'm very middle of the road because I don't hate it, but I do take it very seriously because of what they aim for, and they aim to do a lot of things, and I think they fail at others. I'm going to judge it off of the ultimate cut, which is what everybody begs you to judge it off of, and that's Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, with Ben Affleck as Batman, who I think is a very good Batman. I don't know if the writing for him is as strong as his portrayal, but he looks like a Jim Lee drawing. He looks very good as a older, more wiser, just gruff and beat up Bruce Wayne. I really like Ben Affleck in this role. I think he brought something where before we've had the origins of Batman, the early years of Batman, but this is somebody who's been through it all and he's kind of just tired of it. And here comes Superman, and he's got this beef with Superman in this great opening scene. There's an incredible opening scene here that I think does work, that plays out after Man of Steel, and it's seamless the way it does. But I'm not a big fan of this movie overall. I can't say the same for the portrayal of Lex Luthor and Doomsday and showing the Waynes being murdered once again. But Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck's portrayal, I think there's a lot of really cool things in here. I can't put it higher on the list just because I love everything else so much, but If there was ever a time I needed a Batman spin-off series or Arkham Asylum, I think you got to get Ben Affleck back in there. I think he works as the character, but just not my favorite. All right, at number 9, we have The Dark Knight Rises. This is the third movie in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I love the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I think Bane was a very cool choice as the villain. I love Tom Hardy's portrayal. It's very different than the comic books and the animated series, but I think in the Christopher Nolan universe, it works. I don't know if Catwoman works. I like Anne Hathaway. I don't know if she was right for that role. I like what they do with that character. I'm not sure about her in the role. But the Talia al Ghul stuff worked. I really like Christian Bale as Batman and that comeback story that he has in this, rising to the top, kind of living under a rock because of the events of The Dark Knight, living as this hermit. It makes that comeback feel worth it in those first 2/3 of the movie. Kind of feels like a Rocky movie when he's got to come back. I like this movie a lot. I don't think it's as perfect as The Dark Knight, and it's not as good as Batman Begins, but I think it's a solid ending for the Christopher Nolan trilogy. All right, at number 8 is the Lego Batman movie. Yeah, you got that right. I got that higher than some films on the list that you might love, but I think the Lego Batman movie is a very good movie. It's a great father and son story. It's hilarious. Will Arnett is the perfect Batman. Voice-wise, he's just incredibly funny in this, and there's a real heart and a real story to it, which is it's so shocking because the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie have some really good character depth, and just like, I guess you got to thank Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the producers behind these movies. They know how to find talent and make these Lego movies work so well, and Lego Batman is just a joy to watch. I love the Batman and Robin aspects of it. The Joker, there's a really fun perspective they bring there to it. Lego Batman's a solid time. All right, at number 7, we have Batman 66, Adam West, Burt Ward. I love this movie. I think this is a movie that in the 60s, this captures that pop sort of era of the colors, the way people back then viewed comic books. This is how they viewed it. And I mean, but the movie is in on the joke. It knows how to be funny. There's so many great sequences, and Adam West knows how to play this version of the character and the Rogues Gallery, and it's so colorful and over the top, but there's this spirit about it that just works. The comedy works. Like, it's really funny, actually, and it's such an entertaining film. This is a movie I watched as a kid so many times. I fucking loved this movie. And as an adult, I could go back and watch it, and there's things that I appreciate about it that I probably couldn't appreciate as a kid, but this is such a unique spin on the character. I love the TV series, and there's even the comic books and the animated movies that are based off of this, and I love this version of the character. I love the campiness. To me, Batman can be anything as long as the creators know how to handle the story, and Batman 66 is a perfect example of that. You could go zany and weird and different, and as long as you have a committed cast, crew, director, it can all work. So this is a great companion to the TV series, and if you're just looking for something fun to watch, Batman 66 is a joy. At number 6, we have Batman Returns. The best Christmas movie? I don't know. Great Batman Christmas movie, a great Tim Burton movie. The gothic imagery in this is incredible. Danny DeVito as the Penguin is so perfect. I love that Tim Burton goes, fuck it, I'm not going to base this off anything. I'm going to make it uniquely my own. It's going to be a complete duel of the freaks, an all-out battle. Christopher Walken's so quotable in this as Max Schreck. Everything, the gadgets, and just I love the love story of two people who want to be together, but can't. They can't bring themselves to do it, and you get a real story here. When in the first Batman movie, I love that movie, he's very closed off, Michael Keaton, but in this movie, he's like, man, I really want to do something and have this romance with Selena, but it isn't happening. And to me, it's the heart of the movie, and everything else is just icing on the cake. Batman Returns is such a great film. It's a great tragic superhero story. I know some people and comic book peers will argue about how close it is to comic books or the whole kill rule and all that, but Batman Returns fucks. At number 5, we got Batman Begins. This was a movie that I was highly anticipating when it came out. As a kid, I was obsessed with Batman, and seeing that trailer and how realistic and grounded it looked, and the images when I would read Wizard magazine, I couldn't believe this movie existed and how good it looked. And when I first saw it, the first 5 minutes, I remember my dad thinking, did we walk into the wrong movie? Because it's such an adult film. It takes the character compared to the movies we got before and goes, how can we ground this and still make a great comic book film? How can we make this a great character film, a great drama, while also having all those great things that you expect from comic book movies? The villains are fantastic. The back and forth, the dialogue, the banter between Alfred and Bruce is great, but it's Christian Bale that carries this movie. Everything you love about Batman Year One, you get it here, but it's with that Christopher Nolan spin. I really like this one. I think it's the best looking Christopher Nolan Batman movie too. I think the imagery in this is still seeped in comic book imagery, which is totally different than the Michael Mann-esque look of The Dark Knight. So Batman Begins is a movie that, honestly, I always debate, like, there's the best of the trilogy and what's my favorite of the trilogy. But this is a movie that really just blew my socks off in 2005, and it holds up so well. Number 4 on the list is Batman. This is the movie that introduced me to the Caped Crusader and made me want to read comic books and get the action figures, watch the cartoon. Everything was seeing this VHS tape and going, what the hell is that? At my grandmother's house, and my mind being blown. Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Tim Burton directing it. It's so quotable. Vicky Vale, Kim Basinger, but it's Michael Keaton that's just so good as Batman. It really does feel like the animated series come to life. It's a perfect blend of the comic book imagery, but also doing something unique to the movie and its storytelling. I love Batman 1989. Number 4 on the list. Alright, we're made it into the top 3. Things get controversial here, maybe a little bit. I don't know what other Batman fans think, but I watched all these movies so many times. I feel like, okay, I'm okay with committing to these opinions that I have as a Batman fan and what I want in a Batman movie. Not necessarily what the best movie is, but what do I personally want in a Batman movie? And at number 3 is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Yes, I can include that because it did get a theatrical release. It bombed on release, but it was theatrical nonetheless. It's the greatest Batman love story. It's a tragedy. It has that beautiful Bruce Timm animation. The Joker is fantastic. It's a movie with a soul. It's got a real soul. And at that time, when it came out, a lot of critics found this to be the best Batman movie. I think it's certainly ranking with the best. And it's one of my favorite animated films ever. And at a brisk, 76 minutes, the movie just moves. And it feels like an old-time Hollywood film, too. And it owes so much to those movies. I really love this one. I love the imagery. I love the dialogue. I love how it doesn't dumb things down for children. It takes them seriously. This is serious storytelling. And it's one of the best Batman stories ever put on film. Alright, you guys ready for number 2? Alright, don't hate me, alright? This is a movie I've seen probably over 500 times. I love this movie. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It has one of the greatest screen portrayals of a villain ever, one of the greatest roles ever, acting roles, whatever it is. It's The Dark Knight. This is a movie that I was all over the internet looking for footage, trailers, whatever it was, back in 2007, looking for pictures of Heath Ledger. Again, reading Wizard Magazine, superhero hype, what can I find? What is this movie? The Joker's in it. I love this movie. It's one of the best looking films I own on 4K. There's nothing else I can say about The Dark Knight that hasn't been said. I think it's such a great crime saga, and the back and forth between Batman and Joker is some of the best scenes in comic book history, and captures that relationship and that dynamic so well. You can show this for generations to come, and they're going to love this movie. They're going to show it to the generation after that. It's a great film, period. And it's a movie that should be in your collection. And there's a reason why it's stuck with pop culture so well and for so many years. Because since it's released, it's just been so great. And it's got such a rewatchability to it. So, The Dark Knight is at number 2, which, you guessed it, number 1's The Batman. Alright, it's The Batman. I watched it for the 10th time, and it's still amazing. It's still great, and Let me clear some things, because I know the Batman isn't for everybody. It's 176 minutes long. It's a lot of movie. It's a noir. It's slow. Matt Reeves loves to stay on certain angles for so long and capture the tone, the atmosphere of the story. I know not everybody loves the Riddler, and maybe Bruce Wayne and that portrayal of Bruce Wayne don't work for you. And that's fine. But for me, I walked out of that theater going, that's the greatest goddamn Batman story I've seen. And it feels like the best comic book you've never read. And it echoes so many of the greats, like The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Batman Year One, the Zero Year. There's so much in this movie. I love Legends of the Dark Knight. For any Batman fans, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It's all those Year One, Year Two stories, the Matt Wagner stuff. To me, this movie captures that in a nutshell from the opening narration with Batman, and then we have the influences by Hitchcock with the opening with the Riddler and the David Fincher-ness of it all. This feels like a giant soaring saga where at the center of it, you see it all through the Caped Crusader's eyes, and we portray him finally as the world's greatest detective in the making. Yes, he makes mistakes. He's going through it all. Right now, he's only got one thing on his mind. It's vengeance. But he's growing, and by the end of this story, I had that feeling that I had when I watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I was like, oh, I get it. He's like, Batman has always been this tragic hero. But he wants to be normal. He can't be normal because he's so compelled by what he does. But he becomes a better Batman by the end of this movie, and his relationship with Selina is so good. That ending is one of my favorite superhero endings. The moment with Alfred is so heartfelt. The detective work, him and Jim Gordon, it's half of this movie feels like a buddy film with them two. The volume technology they use for this movie feels like a masterwork by Matt Reeves. The way he's able to include practical effects and CGI. It's still my favorite movie of the year, but every time I watch it, and some people might call recency bias, but I'm a little afraid for them to make a sequel, because I'm like, how do you top this for me? Like, for me, how do you top this? Because Robert Pattinson captures everything in the Batman that I love in those early years, those Year 2 years. So I don't know where they can go next, but as of now, I keep watching it, and it's always on my mind, because to me, it is a perfect Batman story. Which, it's got to be my favorite Batman movie. And this is a lot, because a lot of Batman movies are in my list of favorite movies ever. So, the Batman is at number 1. I think it's going to stay at number 1 unless the Batman 2 is even better, which I don't know. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they can top it. But as of now, that is my list. Let me know what your list is. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite Batman movie? Why? Some people love Ben Affleck as their favorite. Tell me who your favorite Batman is. Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk Batman. It's my favorite character ever. So, I just wanted to get my thoughts down and let you know what I think of all the movies pretty much too, because I like a majority of them. But overall, give me your ranking. Let me know your favorite. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, watch the live show every Thursday, and we will see you guys soon.